I swear I didn't even hear the bark. What I did hear was the sharp, rapid-fire tapping on my front door. The kind of, I own this neighborhood knock only one person has mastered. Karen. The summer heat was already pushing 38 degrees, and the sunlight bouncing off her oversized sunglasses made her look like an angry bug ready to sting. I opened the door halfway, my dog, Milo, wagging behind me like the living embodiment of innocence. "There it is again," she snapped, jabbing a manicured finger toward Milo. "That offensive, that noise. You need to control your animal." I blinked. "You mean breathing? Because that's all he's been doing." Karen pulled a stack of papers from her tote bag like she was about to perform some kind of HOA exorcism. Per Section 4C of the HOA Noise Regulation Policy, persistent disturbance animals. "Persistent disturbance," I muttered. "That's definitely you, not my dog." She ignored that. Karen is immune to sarcasm the way cockroaches are immune to extinction. She shoved the papers at me, eyes narrowed. "Milo has barked 3 times this morning." 3 times? "Karen, it's 10 a.m. "That's precisely the problem," she hissed. "I wake up at 5:30. Then, he barked 3 times in 5 hours. You realize that's less than most humans sneeze?" She wasn't having it. Karen spun on her heels and marched away like she was leading a parade of delusion. Milo barked once because he thought she wanted to play, and she gasped dramatically, scribbling something onto her clipboard like she had just recorded an international crime. I felt that familiar pressure in my chest, anger, disbelief, and a tiny pinch of amusement. Karen had complained before, but banning my dog, that was new. And when I walked to my mailbox later that afternoon, the impossible became real. A bright yellow HOA violation notice was stuffed inside, stamped urgent like I had committed federal fraud. I tore it open. "Your pet has been cited for repeated noise disturbances. A removal hearing has been scheduled for Friday at 6 p.m. Removal. They wanted to remove Milo. My hands shook. Not from fear, from the sheer absurdity of it. Milo, the sweet, floppy-eared mutt who cried when butterflies landed on him, was apparently a neighborhood menace now. According to Karen, I looked up and saw her standing across the street, arms folded, smiling like she'd just defeated a supervillain. And that's when something in me snapped. Not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly, the way an idea clicks into place. If Karen wanted a war over my dog, she was about to get one. Just not the kind she expected. The HOA conference room always smelled like stale coffee and forced politeness. I arrived early, Milo's training documents and vet letters tucked under my arm like armor. I rehearsed calm arguments in my head. He's gentle. He's quiet. He's loved. But the moment I stepped inside, I realized this wasn't going to be a fair hearing. Karen was already seated, front and center, leaning back like a queen awaiting applause. 3 board members flanked her, each wearing that "I'd rather be anywhere else" expression. The room buzzed with the soft hum of the ceiling fan and quiet whispers from a couple of neighbors who had stopped by, just to see the drama. Milo sat at my feet, tail thumping softly against the carpet, a reminder of why I was here. The president, a thin man with a prematurely serious hairline, cleared his throat. "Let's begin. We're here to discuss multiple noise violation complaints regarding the dog, Milo." Karen crossed her arms. "Yes, the barking, the yapping, the emotional distress." I raised a hand. "He barked 3 times in 5 hours. She gasped like I had confessed to arson. "See? He's defensive. That's the attitude I've been dealing with." I looked directly at her. "Karen, he's a dog. Dogs bark. You called the board over nature." A couple of neighbors stifled laughs. Karen snapped her head toward them like a hawk spotting prey. "This is not funny. I expect peace and quiet." The HOA president shifted nervously. "Karen, how many incidents have you documented?" She thrust forward her clipboard, a thick stack of papers scribbled with timestamps. I picked one up. "Karen, this says barked suspiciously at 2:17 p.m. What does suspiciously even mean? And this one?" I held up another page. "This says looked at me rudely." "Well," she said, chin lifting, "he did." The board members exchanged a look, the kind people share when silently deciding who has to tell the truth first. The treasurer finally leaned forward. "Karen, none of this qualifies as a violation." Her jaw dropped. "What?" Before she could protest, The president cleared his throat again, uncomfortable. We've reviewed her logs before. Some have included questionable entries. I nodded, tossing the papers back on the table. So unless Milo committed a felony while I wasn't looking, can we dismiss this? It was going well until Karen played her final card. She pulled out her phone, tapped it, and held the screen toward the board. A video played, shaky, zoomed in, and obviously recorded from behind her blinds. It showed Milo barking at a squirrel on our fence. "See? Disturbance," she said triumphantly. I rolled my eyes. That squirrel was twice his size. Anyone would bark. But the board suddenly looked uneasy. One video, even a ridiculous one, complicated things. They huddled, whispering, eyebrows furrowed. Karen watched them, smiling like she'd already won. After an excruciating minute, the president turned toward me. His voice was careful. "We need time to deliberate. We'll hold a final vote next Tuesday." Karen's smirk widened. Justice takes time. I gathered Milo's leash, my pulse pounding, my jaw tight. This wasn't going away. Not naturally, not quietly. As I stepped outside, the hot evening air hit me hard, but an idea hit me harder. Karen wanted to target my dog. Fine, I'd show her what real noise looked like. The joyful, chaotic kind she couldn't control. And suddenly, a plan took shape. A wild one, a petty one, a beautiful one. And it all started with one simple thought. What if I gave Milo the happiest week of his life? Right in Karen's line of sight. The next morning, I was at the hardware store before the automatic doors had even unlocked. If Karen thought 3 innocent barks were a disturbance, she had no idea what was coming. I filled my cart with lumber, rope, paint, turf patches, PVC pipes, and a kiddie pool shaped like a giant bone. The cashier looked at me like I was preparing for the world's strangest home remodel. By noon, my driveway looked like the set of a chaotic DIY reality show. Milo sat in the shade, head tilted, watching me work with the sincere confusion of a dog who had no idea he was becoming the star of a personal revenge campaign. I started with the big piece, a mini agility course. Ramp, tunnel, small hurdles, a platform painted bright blue. As I screwed the last plank into place, sweat dripping down my neck, I heard the unmistakable slam of Karen's front door. She stormed outside like she'd been summoned by the scent of joy. "What are you doing?" she demanded. I wiped my forehead. Building enrichment activities for Milo. Her eyes narrowed at the ramps. "This looks athletic. Athletic means energetic. Energetic means noisy." "Wow," I said, "and that's a fascinating chain of logic." She crossed her arms. "I will be documenting this." "Please do," I said. "Make sure you get the good angles." That made her sputter, then retreat to her window, her natural habitat. By late afternoon, the final and most important piece arrived, 20 bags of soft play sand. And I knew Karen would absolutely lose it when she saw what it was for. A dig pit. Milo's favorite thing in the world. I dumped the bags, shaped the pit, and sprinkled treats into it like I was seasoning revenge. Milo dove in immediately, sending little sprays of sand into the air. That's when Karen burst out again. "Absolutely not," she shrieked. "You cannot have an outdoor sandbox. It attracts pests, dirt, contamination, chaos." I gestured toward Milo, who was currently wiggling in pure bliss. "He's contaminated with happiness, if that's what you mean." Her face twitched. "This violates at least 5 HOA guidelines." "It doesn't," I said calmly. I checked. Her jaw dropped. She wasn't used to being out-researched. That's when my neighbor, Tom, the one who always barbecued shirtless, wandered over with a soda. "Hey man," he said, eyeing the setup. "Looks fun. My kids would love something like this." Karen spun toward him like a tornado. "No, children make noise." Tom blinked. "They're children." "Yes, and they should do that somewhere else." He walked away muttering, "Lady needs a vacation." But I wasn't done yet. Not even close. Around sunset, I climbed the fence and began phase 2. Decoration. Fairy lights, wind chimes, colorful banners, a sprinkler arch shaped like a rainbow, everything cheerful, everything bright, everything absolutely certain to trigger Karen's sensitivity to happiness. By nightfall, my backyard glowed like a carnival. Not loud, not disruptive, just vibrant. Milo explored each new feature, tail wagging so fast it was basically a fan. And across the street, through her blinds, I saw movement. Karen watching. Karen fuming. Karen plotting. My phone buzzed. A new email. HOA board. Subject? Urgent concern regarding property modifications. The war had officially begun. Almost laughed, but I kept my eyes on the board. The president lifted the final paper. We will now present the official vote. A long breath. A slow unfolding of the page. Everyone leaned in. The HOA unanimously rejects the removal request. Milo is permitted to stay. A ripple of relief washed through me so strongly I had to grip the table. Milo let out a tiny boof, like he was celebrating too. The room nodded. Approved. Settled. Done. Karen, however, completely unraveled. "This isn't over," she snapped. "That yard of yours, the obstacle courses, the lights, the sand, that is a violation, and I will make sure—" "Actually," the treasurer interrupted, flipping his own binder open, "none of the modifications violate guidelines. They're all within regulation." Karen stared at him like he'd spoken ancient Greek, then at me, then at the binder again. Her power, the iron grip she thought she had, evaporated. In the quiet that followed, the president added, "And for the record, community recreational features are encouraged." Encouraged. Karen made a noise halfway between a gasp and a dying kettle, then stomped out, her heels echoing down the hallway like angry punctuation marks. The room exhaled collectively. Tom clapped my back. "Congrats, man! Doggo wins!" I kneeled and hugged Milo, burying my face in his fur. He licked my cheek, carefree, oblivious, perfect. When I stepped outside, the warm air felt lighter. Everything felt lighter. And that's when I saw it. Half the neighborhood staring at my yard, admiring it. Kids pointing, parents smiling, even a couple of adults whispering, "We should build something like that." Milo ran straight to his new playground, diving into the dig pit with all the joy in the world. Karen stood far away on her porch, arms crossed, scowling like she was watching the world end. But she couldn't do anything now, because the board had spoken. Milo stayed, the playground stayed, and Karen, well, she stayed mad. I leaned on my fence, breathed in the warm evening air, and let a small, satisfied smile tug at my mouth. If Karen wanted to pick a fight over a dog, she should have remembered one thing. Dogs don't start wars, but they do inspire some incredibly fun victories. If this story hit home, tap like. It tells me you stand with the people who refuse to get pushed around. Subscribe to Karen Edition so you never miss another moment where someone finally gets the justice they deserve. And before you go, tell me in the comments, what would you have done if it was your fight?